President Trump's flat 10% tariff shook the foundations in Detroit and unexpectedly pushed Toyota to the forefront of the US auto market. What initially seemed like a defensive wall against foreign giants, especially Toyota, turned out to fuel its rise. But sales and profitability data from the first 5 months of 2025 revealed two surprising shifts that upended the intended outcome. At the heart of this reversal were Toyota's decades-old, multi-tiered supply chain and the aggressive price increases forced upon Detroit automakers as they scrambled to offset the tariff shock. So what strategic maneuver flipped the script? Let's dive into the latest global developments. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and give us a like to stay informed with our content. When President Trump announced the 10% blanket tariff on all imports, it looked like Toyota might take the hit. The White House marketed the plan under the rallying cry, "We will sell our cars on our own soil," drawing enthusiastic applause in Michigan. However, 6 months of real-world data revealed two overlooked variables that flipped the narrative. The first was a supply crisis involving battery and inverter components along the Shanghai-Shikoku-Shachin line. But Toyota's 15-year-old multi-source infrastructure cushioned the blow. Second, while US manufacturers scrambled to revise prices upward to cover rising costs, Toyota used a more gradual amortization strategy to maintain profit margins. By April 2025, Toyota Motor North America, TMNA, had raised its average vehicle price by 6%. In comparison, General Motors upped theirs by 11%, Ford by 9.5%, and Stellantis US by 12%. In a market where car loans carried interest rates exceeding 8%, 34 out of every 100 Americans said that the difference in monthly payments influenced their brand switching decisions, half of them opting for the Toyota Lexus lineup. Toyota's global supply matrix, dubbed the three-ring convergence, became a core advantage once the tariff shockwave began. The first ring included production hubs in Japan, Thailand, and Vietnam. The second ring consisted of Toyota's US-based factories, like those in Texas, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Alabama. The third encompassed its NAFTA Plus region, including Canadian and Mexican operations. The new tariff system calculated tax liability based on the proportion of foreign parts. Toyota had ramped up the localization of engine, transmission, and battery modules to over 70% between 2020 and 2024 at its Texas and Kentucky facilities. This helped Toyota limit its exposure, while rivals like Ford and Stellantis bore a heavier tax burden. Energy and raw material strategies further widened the gap. Toyota inked a deal to expand its Hokkaido Kitami facility and source cathode metals from a US-Canada-Australia corridor. GM and Ford looked to Canadian and Indonesian nickel to qualify for IRA subsidies. But Trump's potential aluminium tariffs cast a shadow over those plans. Toyota began shifting from LFP to NMC, nickel manganese cobalt, cells, using domestically cased aluminium cathodes to dodge tariffs. Meanwhile, a fluctuating euro-yen-dollar exchange rate created another wedge. As the yen hit 150 to the dollar, Toyota saw windfall profits on transfers from Japan. Ford, however, suffered losses converting euro revenues. Toyota reinvested its currency gains in US operations. GM's liquidity dropped to $22 billion by Q1 2025, while Toyota's global reserves swelled to $45 billion. The US auto trade deficit ballooned to $84 billion between January and May, up $11 billion from the pre-tariff period, undermining the idea that tariffs would close the gap. Toyota also surged in brand perception. J.D. Power's July 2025 post-tariff resilience report had Toyota Lexus leading at 52% when respondents were asked which brands seemed least risky under tariff pressure. Chevy came in at 20th, Ford 18th, Jeep 13th. That trust also stemmed from logistics. While Detroit brands averaged 65 days of parts inventory, Toyota managed it in 45, ensuring faster service and repairs. Detroit's recovery strategies diverged. One camp sought direct tariff offset subsidies from Congress, which the House Budget Committee resisted due to inflation concerns. The other leaned on North American free trade adjustments. GM is expanding battery production in Mexico and Canada, but Trump's threats of a 15% Mexico tariff make that gamble shaky. Toyota adapted again, transforming its Mexican factories from assembly lines into parts distribution hubs to cut tariff risk. Meanwhile, investor confidence soared. Toyota stock hit $160 in June. GM, Ford, and Stellantis dropped between 5% and 8% since the year began. Toyota's global market cap hit $315 billion, nearly double the Detroit trio's combined $160 billion. Analysts credited Toyota's agility during the tariff turbulence. The company is also bolstering its Europe-Africa-Turkey supply web, linking its hybrid hub in Turkey with an engine plant in Poland, ensuring tariff-free EU access. Detroit automakers, lacking such interlinked European operations, continue to battle inefficiencies. Toyota's multi-layered network strategy, as CEO Koji Sato calls it, turns regional tariff threats into neutralized nodes through smart localization and horizontal integration. Bottom line, Trump's tariff wall didn't block Toyota, it backfired on Detroit. The Japanese automaker's US-based production is more robust than the American brands themselves. If Trump enforces a 50% localization threshold, Toyota's Texas and Kentucky facilities will become even more valuable, especially as Hyundai-Kia still lags in localizing their Georgia and Tennessee plants. US automakers unable to localize quickly enough are caught in a tax spiral. Toyota's $200 to $300 monthly loan payment advantage is turning customers into long-term loyalists. Looking ahead, Toyota's hydrogen-powered internal combustion prototype, expected by 2028 to 29, could redefine the game, sidestepping tariffs and pressuring US R&D spending. Ironically, the old story of cheap foreign cars undercutting the US is playing out in reverse. Today, Toyota has more localized content in America than the Big Three. The Trump administration's industrial nationalism is clashing with the reality of globalization. The winner is clear. Unless the government writes a new EU-style industrial framework or drops tariffs altogether, Detroit's road will remain steep. Toyota may well go down in history as the unexpected champion of American tariffs, cruising past US brands on their own home turf. So, what's your take? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated. Thank you for watching.